Hello, this is Perry Mink. It is Friday, October 16th, 2020, about 4:20 in the afternoon. This is For the People video, and we are working on the Barry Bonds case that includes his personal trainer, Greg Anderson. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is where I give updates and current developments as to how the government here in Contra Costa County, California, in Martinez, California, how they are terrorizing me simply because I seek justice in my civil case, Mink versus Encina Veterinary Clinic Incorporated et al., that I filed in 2008 within statute of limitations. All right, so in yesterday's video, I changed the format of For the People video. I'm starting with the homework assignment exercise, and then at the end, I will speak about the updates and the current developments. So yesterday, I spoke about the judges on the case and how did this investigation transpire. And some of the questions that I asked were, once the tip-off went to this U.S. anti-doping agency, and then how did this end up with the IRS Criminal Investigation Department, and why couldn't I find anything on the FBI, and what actually happened as to the evolving of the investigation. So I found a different news article that claimed that there were two separate investigations, one from the U.S. anti-doping agency, and one from the federal department. Specifically, I'm not sure from that article. I did find, though, that the FBI was involved, as far as the article is claiming. The IRS criminal investigation, though, was focusing on tax evasion and money laundering. Now, what I found out was that in the investigation with the IRS criminal investigation, they were assisted, and this was shocking because you'll hear in a moment. The IRS raided, their investigation was assisted by the San Mateo Narcotics Task Force. And that just shocked me. I thought, now why would the IRS, which is a federal agency, join in or hook up or buddy up with this local San Mateo Narcotics Task Force? And I thought, well, what would it really be? What should it have been? Well, it should have been the DEA, which is the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. So I decided to look into who this San Mateo Narcotics Task Force is, because if you remember, I really emphasized about the District Attorney of San Mateo was Jim Fox, a Catholic, a devout Catholic, if you will, who was doing his job for the Pope. not for the United States, not for California, not for our laws. And this San Mateo Narcotics Task Force is under the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department. And the person who was in charge of this task force was Captain Tricia Sanchez from the San Mateo Sheriff's Department. So I decided to look up information about her, and lo and behold, she graduated from St. Mary's College, the Catholic college here in Contra Costa County, the infamous sex abusing, discriminatory college, violent on campus there, very dangerous. It was in the news. And this is where she is from too. So that told me right there that there was something going on that was illegal, that this was not a legitimate case. This was not handled to shut down a drug cartel and the distribution of their illegal performance-enhancing drugs that are undetectable, and worse, that this BALCO was operating like the Nazi East German communist Olympic supremacist, superhero sports environment. So I decided to find out more, because when I say that it should have been the DEA, which is the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, the reason I thought of that is because this BALCO was targeting athletes from all over the place. It wasn't just, athletes from the San Francisco Bay Area that were training there, or not training there, but training in the community, and then somehow were influenced to then utilize their services. And what was BALCO services? They were making nutritional supplements for athletes. They were also testing the athletes, their, condition, the insides of their condition, and then they were prescribing supplements. I wondered who gave BALCO the right to operate this. What kind of licensing is there? Or did they have to have doctors on board? As far as I can tell, the three main culprits were the founder, Victor Conte, the chemist, Patrick Arnold, and this other athlete who was already involved in using illegal performance enhancing drugs, but was also had education in science, and that was Angel Heredia. So one of the victims was an athlete shot putter, C.J. Hunter, and this is where it reflects this communist East Germany Olympic athletes who were, like an experiment under the communist regime there, and they didn't know, or control what the government was doing to them. And so this shot putter, C.J. Hunter, didn't know either. He was subjected to something that was unbeknownst to him. So Victor Conte in that case was the culprit. So I looked into what I'm leading up to is because my focus after Bonds, I could tell already that Bonds was set up, that he was the main target. But when I discovered about Greg Anderson, his personal trainer, I kept wondering, how did he end up working for BALCO? I could not find any information. There was nothing that indicated how he became connected to BALCO. He was just somebody in sports, and there is information that indicates to me that this Victor Conte was grooming people to perpetrate his very nefarious and dangerous communist type Nazi secret manipulative harmful attack on athletes. And he knew he was doing it, and he was getting a thrill from it. So from the news report, I had to look at many different articles to find out anything that could help me figure out how did Greg Anderson come to be somehow connected to BALCO, and they really went after him. I mean, this was a man who was one of the main targets, and that the federal government and the local government wanted to harm him along with Barry Bonds and these other athletes, but these two were very high on the hit list, and allowed this Victor Conte and Patrick Arnold, who were like Nazi communists, walk free, or a slap on the back of the hand. So I found out that that the FBI was involved, but I still do not know who was the agent, who was the head that was local, that was pursuing this. At the time, the U.S. Attorney General was John Ashcroft. I don't know who the lead or the person in charge here in San Francisco was. So this, there was information that led me to believe that with Greg Anderson, the government played a wicked switcheroo on him, and that they basically tricked him. And I mean, he just had no way to protect himself, but he did have attorneys. How he got them is surprising to me. I found out that this IRS investigator agent, his name is Jeff Nowitzki. This Victor Conte made a public statement. he said that this guy makes things up as he goes along. Okay? So apparently this Victor Conte was allowed to make public statements about the government. Why? I mean, speaking out against the government. And that was perfectly fine. He also said, though, and I thought, well, this is very, how shall I say, giving him this type of, it falls in this cruel Catholic M.O. environment where you give preferential treatment to the Catholic. And as I already stated, Victor Conte, comes from a large Italian Catholic family here in California. And he actually made a statement that came across like it was defending Anderson, like supporting Anderson. And it was something to the effect that that he did think that the government, was unfair to him. So why the media and the government were allowing this Victor Conte to make public statements like this? Because they were giving him preferential treatment. Now, with Greg Anderson, though, they were perpetrating network terrorism that I speak about and prove in my Part 7 article, Way Beyond Broken. And what did they do? They terrorized his mother-in-law, and the mother-in-law has nothing to do with it. So I couldn't find any information as to how did Greg Anderson come to be associated with BALCO. Well, I did find another article that really explains this Victor Conte as this scoundrel, this very diabolical swindler type of, dangerous, man that was allowed to be in public. And this the government was allowing Conte to go on with his life, but this Greg Anderson was ruined. And so there was no article about, and this is what I'm looking for, that Victor Conte was very experienced as a groomer with very deceptive intentions, just like a Catholic priest who would target men and boys to rape and molest them, or to swindle somebody, or to play a wicked game where you pretend that you love this person and you even go as far as marry them, but it's to steal from them. And I talked about that also in the Part 7 case with the Derek Aldred case and the Joe Corona. And you could see how long Joe Corona kept staying married to his Protestant wife, yet he the whole time was swindling from her friends and thinking nothing of it, just, oh well. And then when he murdered her, wanted to get rid of all her stuff, like she never existed to begin with. So Greg Anderson has no voice. They're keeping that from the news, that this Victor Conte probably was trying to groom people to do the dirty deed, his dirty deed, along with Patrick Arnold and this Heredia athlete. All right, so back to this Patrick Arnold, who made a public statement that he was creating these undetectable performance enhancing drugs based on these East German documents. What were the East German documents? Well, they were called Stasi records, Stasi archives. What is Stasi archives? It's the state secret service of the communist regime that was overthrew that territory. It was basically an extension of the Nazis, and they took hold of this part of Germany, and they trapped those people there basically. And what were these Stasi people doing? They were terrorizing the people there, and it was a environment where you had no freedom. And so there was this one woman, her name is Ulrike, let's see if I can, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing this right, Ulrike Poppy, and she was against the Stasi, but she was stuck there in East Germany, and she was one of the most sought out women in East Germany because she was against them. And when I start to read what happened to her, and mind you again, this is a homework assignment exercise, and I'm not going to put links to the articles because they may be removed. The terrorist regime here may remove them, and I need to protect the innocent. So these Stasi police had tracked her on a regular basis. I mean, incessantly. They were harassing her. They surveilled her regularly. They bugged her phone and her home. Excuse me. They had people from her own group, without her knowing it at that time, spy on her. And they even went as far as they were plotting to steal her baby stroller and covertly let the air out of her bicycle tires when she went grocery shopping with her toddlers. Oh, well, doesn't that sound like what's happening to me now? Oh, look, here we are. We're the Martinez police. Look, we're driving by you. Oh, yeah, look, she's on her bicycle. There she goes with Winnie in the basket. Oh, she's going to the grocery store. Oh, let's put the air out of the tires while she's in the grocery store. Instead, the landlord was coming in here when I would go by bus, and then he was coming in here stealing things, even evidence. Then he sabotaged my bicycle. He broke the stem on the tube so that it wouldn't work. And then he was breaking my different things in here, and he was dirtying things up, damaging it, and stealing evidence. Then they were poisoning my plants outside. They were breaking the ceramic pots. They poisoned Winnie with rat poison, strychnine, and the warfarin. So this brave woman, Ulrike Poppy, didn't know what was going on, though, until the Stasi archives and the records were discovered. And so what happened was this young man, David Gill, a plumber, he was a democracy activist. Now, you have to remember that democracy is about, it's not the Democratic Party. It's democracy means that you have rights as an individual. That's the democracy that I'm speaking of. That's what he was for. But he was barred from university because his father was a Protestant minister. He was secretly studying theology at an underground seminary in Berlin. Quote unquote, I'm citing the quote from this article that I can't mention just out of safety reasons. He was led to the Stasi records through cooperating Stasi officers. This is after the fall of this communist regime, because people just kept, speaking out against it. More and more people were speaking out against it. But this was even more massive than what the Nazis were doing as far as spying on the people there per capita. So what I'm going to read this as a quote from the article. It says, "Here was additional proof that East Germany sheltered terrorists, ran national sports doping programs, and conducted industrial espionage across Western Europe. BSTUs, that's for the Stasi group, the regime, hand assembly program exposed, or actually the, let's see if I got this, the Stasi records, I'm sorry, the BSTUs is the Stasi records. Hand-assembled program exposed, that's the records, exposed hundreds of the Stasi secret informants. Their ranks turned out to include bishops, university professors, and West German bureaucrats. So you could see that they were operating a terrorist regime, and that they were attacking the people that were trapped there within the Berlin Wall. And so this is what is happening here in this community, except they are so clandestine, so dangerous. We are not being informed of what this is. The public, the general public, does not know what this is. These people are not identifying themselves. As I mentioned in my other video, for the people video, that they're not wearing badges. The badges say Sheriff's Department. And as far as the general public knows, we think that they're trustworthy. They're not trustworthy. Anytime somebody speaks out, they're suppressing us to the point that we're either dead, or they put us away somewhere, or the person had to flee the country, or they are in my situation where I'm trapped in this Gestapo Jewish ghetto apartment. So that's what I worked on today. And you could see that, oh yes, I also wanted to mention that this Captain Tricia Sanchez, who graduated from this Catholic St. Mary's College here in Moraga, California, her boss his name is Sheriff Carlos Bolaños, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was found with another sheriff's official at an illegal brothel in 2007 in Las Vegas. He was on the premises of this brothel, but he lied in public and said he didn't even go in the building. This is the kind of people that we're dealing with. And these are people in San Mateo. And so you could see how it reflects what's happening here in Contra Costa County, that our government has been overthrown by Catholics and their recruits, and I proved it. I also wanted to mention that because I proved that it's Catholics and they're recruits, and they're operating exactly like a Nazi communist regime. During the East German communist regime, there's this one particular person with the that was tracking Ulrike Puffy, and he ended up committing suicide, I guess because it was so disturbing that he was the one that was supposed to keep, going after her or something like that. I didn't get into the details of that, but I do know the article said that he did commit suicide. And that's part of why I'm speaking out, because when you talk about the level of corruption that is going on here within the government and beyond, and that the people in the government, their lives are in danger, and that either they could be murdered, like Councilman Szymanski, who was the mayor in Dublin. It was in the south part of Contra Costa County. And then you talk about how the Concord City Attorney Mark Kuhn committed suicide. Some people think he was murdered, that somebody pushed him off I believe it was the 4th floor of the parking lot there in Walnut Creek. Some say he was pushed off, others say he jumped. It's that violent and that clandestine, that nefarious. Our federal government is supposed to make a public statement that when this coup took place, that it is directly from the Catholic Church, that they discovered who and where these people are meeting, or how they were able to perpetrate this on the people in the community, the general population, and that it is stopping, that they are able to contain it, and that the public needs to be aware of it so that we can protect ourselves, and that it is being stopped, that there will not be communists allowed in the government, that Catholics will not be allowed to be in the government. Any communist will not be allowed to get a law license. So that is my information for the people today. I don't know if I can find an article that will reveal how this Victor Conte groomed, in that Catholic form, groomed Greg Anderson to promote his products, and really Conte and Patrick Arnold in this Heredia were actually knowingly altering the condition, the physical state of these athletes knowingly, and this Greg Anderson didn't even know, because what would he know? He wouldn't know. I also wanted to say that there was a statement in one of the articles that did say that Conte knew, that he admitted that steroids did help a female athlete in their performance, which means that if you think about this, was Conte in contact with these other corrupt Catholics like Fox and Hallinan, and they were into gambling on these athletes. Oh, which team is going to win this game? Oh, which I'm betting on this, this team on this game. Hey, I put my money on this game. There could have been that aspect of it too. And that they were also, in their backroom dealings, making money on these sports gambling events that were secret. The FBI never said anything like that. Why were they allowing this BALCO to do this? All right, so we'll leave it at this stage for today. This video is now at about 36 minutes, and the update is I still don't have gas for hot water or the stovetop burners. I don't have any information about justice for Encina victims, justice for Elvira, my beloved pug. And I know that the women at the legal system did this sex slander scam on purpose. They'd used it before, and the federal agents went along with it and went outside of the state, and they went after my blood family members. They went after co-workers. And I know this because I had one very close, what I called a Christian sister. And because I'm not a big talker, and I'm not into gossiping in the workplace. As a matter of fact, I discourage from it. And so I had one Christian sister where outside of the workplace we would meet, and we would just talk about, our life and, what we've done in our lives, and, what was my, what was I doing in college, and where were we, just in general, as you would in a personal relationship. And so when they started attacking me in public here in this community through people at the VA, they were using other consumers, other veterans who were, participants in this VA Veterans Affairs PRRC program. It was the Psychosocial Rehabilitation and Recovery Program. There were other veterans there, mostly men. They were actually using them, the women, the Dr. Karen Deli, the people that were running the program. Her name was MJ Fox, and there were some other women in the mental health program. Dr. Miller, Nicole Miller. There was a psychiatrist, Dr. George. He was a man. And then earlier on, there was another Dr. Rita Hargrave. These people were actually going along with this, unbeknownst to me. And it was a setup. But they were coming around me using these other veterans in the program, using sex, slander, innuendos, and degradation around me to make it look like I'm some kind of a slut. Excuse me for saying that. Prostitute, streetwalker. Yet there's nothing about me that's even interested in that. And it's based on the fact that I proved with evidence that Encina Veterinary Clinic Incorporated et al. Was operating an illegal dog lab. They were swindling clients and harming their pets. And they were racking in huge amounts of money to live a double life. And it was organized crime ring. I spent hours investigating, and it was organized crime ring with the California Veterinary Medical Board, the Commissioner Judge Golub out of the Walnut Creek Superior Court. The O'Malley family, Dan O'Malley was representing, Attorney Dan O'Malley was representing Encina, and his wife Marianne O'Malley. And then you have Judge Barbara Zuniga, Commissioner Judith Sanders, Justice Marciano, James Marciano, the Justice Ignacio Rubolo, and he lives too out in Rossmore, Walnut Creek, which is where I was working, both as a part-time employee, and I had my business helping seniors. And it was organized crime ring. Why would the federal government go along with this? This is the United States. We are not a communist country. Apply our laws, not the Catholic Vatican Church Holy See canon law. So that's what's happening, and I will continue to seek justice because that's my right. They are using this very dirty, sexually deviant scam on unsuspecting people so that they could steal your property, and your property includes your money. And I proved it through information at the California Veterinary Medical Board that the executive officer Susan Gernon, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, was perpetrating, and that was to use sex in a very deviant and clandestine way to be able to justify stealing somebody's property, which was their pet. How do we groom this client to hand over their property so that we could swindle them in a horrific Ponzi scheme and end their life, both the pet and the client? And that's what this is about. But they can keep living. The Catholic gets to live their life. They get to get preferential treatment. They get to keep their job. They get to keep driving a car. They get to keep living. They get recognition, public recognition. They get to make public statements. And this is illegal. All right, thank you for watching. It's about 5:02 p.m. on Friday, October 16th, 2020. This is about a 43-minute video. And thank you for watching. Learn, prepare, be brave, inform others, outsmart them, and regain our rights. And that means regain our individual rights. It means that we are human beings. And if you do enough research, you're going to find out that the East German communist regime did not see the athletes as human beings. They did not. And that's what's happening here. And I'm proving it over and over and over again. And our government needs to put a stop to all of this now. And my case is to be in the news immediately. And Encina victims are to have justice in the instant. That is our law. All right, thank you for watching. Signing off.